All right, let's see if this works now. Can you hear me, David?
I sure can.
Okay, you can hear me and I
Oh,
can hear you, and I think we're all live and everything. It's looking
we,
like
we
it's
are,
working.
Brian, unfortunately still getting echo. Do you possibly have two windows open?
I do not. Let me just shut that one down. I shouldn't be getting any echoes on this at all. I don't know. Are you getting anything now?
Only when I speak.
Okay. Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry, everyone. This should be working, but it's not because I don't know why it's not working. And I can't make it work correctly. I'm looking at my audio mixer here. And let me pull that down and see if I can see what's going on with my mixer here. Because that's the only thing that's coming in on this is the mic aux. I'm going to mute everything else except for you. And I don't know if you're getting any audio, any echo.
Yes, I am.
Now?
Still getting echo, though?
Still getting echo. Crud. I have no idea why this is not working correctly. And crud. Everything else is muted for me. I don't have anything else open. Well, this was a good idea when I thought of it. It's just not working right now. I've got headphones on, David. I'm wearing in-ear monitors, so I don't know why we're not hearing that. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do one thing here. I'm gonna just take this loop back. Maybe if I take that loop back down, can you still hear me?
I can.
I can't hear you with that. So maybe if I take this here. I'm gonna take that down. I'm gonna take that down. I shouldn't be hearing that, because that's where you are on the loop back. So if I go here, and if I just go to, oh, that should be working just fine. You know what? I'm just going to mute when I am not talking, and let's see if that helps. So, all right. So, David, can you tell us what is happening in some of the other elections that you are watching around the country?
My pleasure, Brian, and thank you so much for having me. So, Utah is about to close its polls in just a couple of minutes, but three states have already done so earlier tonight: South Carolina, Maryland, and New York. And the big news so far tonight has been out of New York City, where a whole bunch of candidates who are endorsed by our mayor here, Zohran Mamdani, have won elections, particularly for the U.S. House. Congressman Dan Goldman, he lost to Brad Lander, who ran against Mamdani in the primary for mayor last year. But the two had a very close alliance because we have ranked choice voting in municipal elections. So that was a huge and very high profile win for a Mamdani-backed candidate. There was also another open seat race in Brooklyn and Queens, where Mamdani's preferred candidate, a member of the DSA named Claire Valdez, she defeated the Brooklyn Borough President, Antonio Reynoso. And there's still a third race where it looks like Mamdani's preferred candidate is also going to oust another incumbent. This is Adriano Espaillat is the incumbent in Upper Manhattan and the Bronx. And Mamdani's candidate is Daria Eliza Villa Chevalier. And it looks like he's going to go 3 for 3. And also candidates associated with the left and the DSA in general have been performing very, very well in other races further down the ballot. I am sure that this is going to be a very big story in the media tomorrow, especially, Brian, as you know, given how obsessed so much of the media is with New York City.
Yeah, I would. A lot of people were talking about Mamdani and whether his endorsements were going to work, how much weight they were going to carry heading into this election. And it looks, as you said, it looks like he's going to go 3 for 3, and that's not nothing. Let's turn a little bit and get your thoughts about what you're watching for in Utah's elections, as we are expecting to get that first wave of results anytime. We've got the 3 big congressional elections, especially in CD1, where whoever wins this Democratic nomination is going to be a heavy favorite heading into November.
I mean, that first congressional district, this has to be such an exciting election for Utah Democrats. The fact that for really the first time ever, there is a solidly, if not safely, blue district in Congress where the candidates are competing about who has the strongest progressive bona fides. I remember races in the past when you had guys like Ben McAdams 1.0 trying to demonstrate how moderate or centrist they were. And this has been a fascinating one to watch from afar, seeing the split both in terms of prominent supporters and the spending, but also with the Democratic Party, the local party endorsing one of McAdams' opponents. Like you said, this one is almost certainly an automatic flip for Democrats in November, which is a huge big deal, just given how much gerrymandering Republicans have done elsewhere across the nation. Along with California, Utah is the only state where Democrats look to be set to benefit from new maps this cycle.
One of the things that has really riled a lot of the races here, not only on the congressional level, but down the ballot, is the whole issue of data centers. We had that big data center project in Box Elder County. Ben McAdams is getting hammered for his financial ties to data center companies. Are you seeing that having an impact elsewhere around the nation as you watch these elections?
Very much so. This is an issue that has just soared in salience. And it's come up a lot, in particular, in races for bodies like Public Service Commission. Different states give different titles to these sorts of panels, but the folks that are responsible for regulating utilities, and we've seen in places like Georgia and Arizona, folks who are running for positions to regulate electrical utility companies. This is a huge, huge issue that's top of mind for many, many voters because they often link it with their soaring electricity bills. The ratepayers are just continually getting hammered more and more by higher electricity costs. And many folks feel that part of the problem are these data centers that sometimes are getting very favorable deals and also are causing environmental problems and are just often not welcome in many neighborhoods. So, yeah, I think I was almost going to say like low key, this is a major issue, but I think it's becoming kind of high key, Brian.
Well, I appreciate you putting up with all the technical issues. We are waiting for the first wave of election, so I'll let you go. And next time, hopefully, it'll work a lot better. But David Neer, the founder of the Down Ballot, you can find it online at the-downballot.com. Go over there, sign up for his newsletter. You get it every morning, and it is a great look at what's happening at elections across the country. David, thank you for your time, and I apologize for all the technical screw ups.
Not at all, Brian. We have all been there. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, David, and have a good evening. Okay, well, we're back. I apologize, everybody, for those technical issues. We'll make sure that gets fixed as we go forward. But anyway, all right. So again, thank you everybody for watching this evening. I apologize. We're still trying to get those issues worked out. Oh, there's my dog just came in on the vertical or on the horizontal stream. That's Moose just came in to say hello to everybody, or at least to see what I'm doing. But we're waiting for the first wave of election results to come in. Polls have just closed. So at any time, we're going to see this first wave of election results come in. What are you looking for? What are you hoping to see as we're waiting with this first wave of results? And what do you think is going to happen? I try not to do predictions, but I'm very, very interested to see how some of these races are going to turn out. As we said, Congressional District 1, it's being painted. There's been a lot of attention on that race. It's being painted as sort of a fight for the heart and soul of the Democratic Party here in Utah. Ben McAdams, the more centrist candidate, the polling that we've seen, he is the front runner, but he does not have a majority. I don't think whoever wins that is going to win with a majority. They're going to have a plurality. Some of the people I talked to said that they expect whoever wins to possibly have a strong plurality, but we're not expecting them to have a majority as the evening once you get those results. And a lot of outside money has come into this race. Over $2.6 million outside money into the first congressional district, and all of it is from outside groups who have been supporting McAdams. Almost $2.7 million. And that makes sense because this is the ball game, folks. This is it. This is the big one. This is the whoever wins this race is going to be heavily favored in November. And we're just waiting for these first round of results to come in. Haven't seen anything pop up yet. Waiting for Salt Lake County, waiting for everyone else. Salt Lake County said that their first release of results is expected shortly after 8 p.m. And then they're going to have a second release after the in-person voting results are returned. So we should be hearing something pretty much any time here from Salt Lake County and the rest of the state, and just waiting for those first wave of results to pop in. But the chat is open for you. I want to hear what you have to say. We were talking before we were joined by David Neer, and I screwed everything up with the technical. It looks like Cache County has some stuff in, so we'll have to see what they're showing. I'll have to find the Cache County website here in a second. Okay, we do have some results. I'm going to bring these up right now on the screen share. We have our first wave of results. Oh boy, if I can actually... we got to figure out where this one, there we go. Now you should be able to see it. Our first wave of results are in House District 2. Blake Moore is leading Carrie Ann Lisenby, 59, almost 60% to 40%. No surprise there at all. And in House District 3, it looks like Celeste Malloy with a healthy lead on Phil Lyman, almost, a 40-point lead right now, 71% to about 30% as we look for that. And we've got waiting for other results to pop in, but that's on the state website, and it looks like those have come in from Cache County. So Cache County, pretty good turnout so far as well. About 7,200 votes for Blake Moore and 4,800 for Carrie Ann Lisenby. Everyone I talk to expects Blake Moore to win that one fairly easily. So that's our first wave of results as we're waiting for the other results to pop in this evening. But as you can see right here, we got Blake Moore leading Carrie Ann Lisenby by about 20 points. No surprise there at all. Blake Moore, he's the incumbent. He's a member of House leadership in Congress. Massively outspent her, massively outraised her, and that there's just no surprise to that at all. And then, as you can see, in House District 3, we have got Celeste Malloy leading Phil Lyman by 40 points, which, again, as I was talking to people, I said it wouldn't surprise me if Celeste Malloy wins by more than 10 points, and she's got a pretty healthy lead right now. But again, as I wrote earlier this week, we're not seeing those counties on the eastern side of the state, which is his base of support. And it's all going to come down to Utah County. That's what it looks like. Celeste Malloy is going to have to run up the score in Utah County because, Washington County and Utah County are the two most populous counties in that district. And Malloy, she actually lost Washington County to Colby Jenkins in 2024, and Phil Lyman did better than her in Washington County when he was running for governor. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but she's absolutely going to need Utah County to come in for her and come in for her big. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the first wave of results that we are looking at? UT Abby Normal says, I'm not a fan of Doug Fiafia, but Dan McKay has to go. We're waiting for the first results from Salt Lake County there. Oh, now we've got new results, and these are in the first congressional district. Ben McAdams out to a big lead. 60% of the vote in the first wave of results right there. As you can see, Ben McAdams out to a big lead already. Let me adjust how things are looking here. So we're seeing Ben McAdams with 60% of the vote, Nate Bluen at about 24%, Laban Mohammed 12%, and Michael Farrell at 4%. And this is what a lot of people expected to happen. That McAdams, he is the front runner throughout the entire race, and no surprise, he is out to a big lead to start the evening. Let's see if there are any other results that have popped in here. We're looking in Senate District 18. Doug Fiafia is leading Dan McKay. I'm rounding here, about 70% to 30%, or 69 to 31. That's a big lead for Doug Fiafia. As you remember, McKay almost was defeated at the state convention. He won by, or he survived by just 2 votes at the state convention. So that is I'm not quite sure how to digest that result yet. Everyone I talked to felt that McKay was in trouble, and it seems like that is what happened here. So we do have the first results here: Dan McKay trailing Doug Fiafia, and that might be the end of Dan McKay's run in the Utah legislature. Let's go over to Salt Lake County, see if we can find their election results as we are waiting for them to post those. Don't want to see you doing my scrolling here. So we can find the election results, election information. What are your first results? Or excuse me, what are your first thoughts about these results as we're seeing them in? What are you thinking as we're seeing the first wave of results come in? Ben McAdams with a big lead. Blake Moore, big lead. Celeste Malloy with a big lead. I'm really curious how you are digesting that as we are looking at these results as they're starting to make their way into the onto our computers. Hopefully I can find more of these election results. Very hard to find these on the Salt Lake County website. I've been looking for that all day, but I'm not seeing that. But we are seeing some of the results. So we do have some of the results in from Salt Lake County. Nothing from Davis County yet. Maybe we'll look over at the Davis County website, their election results. Not seeing anything right now. Let me refresh that. Nothing has been published from Davis County. Also paying attention to what is happening in Utah County tonight. They've got a really interesting race with the Utah County clerk, Davidson Aaron Davidson being challenged by Corey Astle. Davidson has had a lot of problems during his tenure. Most recently, the big misstep he had when he hired Kai Schwimmer, who is, a Groyper, white supremacist, white nationalist, to help run elections down there. Let's see, waiting for other results to pop in, and starting to not really seeing anything else yet, waiting for a refresh here. But I want to know what you're thinking about these first wave of results. Ben McAdams off to a big lead. Blake Moore off to a big lead. Celeste Malloy off to a big lead. Dan McKay in trouble. We'll have to see how the rest of the evening goes along, but that's certainly not good news for him. Let me look at the chat and see what we have here. Jaden Week says, Aaron Davidson, I would very much like to see him get primaried. Well, he is being primaried by Corey Astle, and we're waiting for those results to come in from Utah County. UT Abby Normal on TikTok says, Tani and Dan lost their popularity. Makes me wonder who they upset. They had some, she did run for mayor of Riverton last year. Did not do too well either in the primary, and she didn't do very well in the in the general election as well. Lost that election. If you remember, Dan McKay promised that he would not run for re-election this year if his wife had been elected mayor, and that didn't happen. So, anywho, Let me hear your thoughts, your reaction to this. Katie did it 124 on TikTok, on YouTube says the McKay race is refreshing, but incumbents seem to have a built-in head start. Exactly. The power of incumbency is a big thing. It is a really big thing. And especially in these legislative races, I was going back over some of the old legislative primary results, and there were some legislative races that were decided with less than 2,000 votes. And these were just primary elections in the past, as I was trying to look at which incumbents had been ousted in their primaries. Anyway, I'm going to take a drink. But thank you for joining me this evening. Jen on TikTok says, does LeBon have a shot? We just got our first wave of results, and LeBon is in third place. He has about 12% of the vote. I expect probably that's how it's going to finish. I am surprised that McAdams is at 60% with the first wave of election results that have popped in. Seeing if there's anything else that has shown up yet. We are seeing... We have some of the State Board of Education stuff. Nothing from Davis County yet. Nothing from Utah County yet. Still trying to find the Salt Lake County election results. And I'm not seeing those, which is... disappointing to say the least. They said that they would have the election results. Okay, now we've got a link for the election results. So let me pull that up here in Salt Lake County. And now we can start to look at some of these other races. Let's see what we have here. Okay, as we're looking in Salt Lake County now, and I'll bring up my screen share so we can all share this together. Now these are just the Salt Lake County races. Senate District 13. This is the race to replace Nate Bluen, who's running for Congress. Essentially, whoever wins this race is going to be unopposed in November, I believe is what it says in my notes. I'll have to double check that, but I believe that's what it is. No, they will have an opponent in November, but whoever wins this is running to replace Nate Bluen, and they're probably most likely going to be elected in November. And Sylvia Catton is ahead in this three-way primary, as you can see right here. She has just under 46% of the vote. As it goes, Evan Dunn in second place with 32.33%, and Taylor Payton just under 22%. Senate District 14, Stephanie Pitcher. She is way ahead of Taylor Cotter. She's at almost 80% of the vote in the first wave of results. Again, she's an incumbent. That is not surprising. A lot of people were wondering why Cotter was challenging her, and it looks like that's not working out too well for him, at least from the first wave of results that we have. Looking elsewhere, State House District 21, and this is in the race to replace Sandra Hollins, Representative Sandra Hollins, who is retiring. Stephen Otterstrom right here ahead with almost 58% of the vote. Whoever wins this primary in House District 21 will be unopposed in November. House District 34, this is to fill the seat being vacated by Carol Spackman Moss, who is leaving after several decades up on the Hill. Julie Jackson leads Aaron Jemison almost 55-45 in that district. And the winner of this race will also be unopposed in November. So whoever wins these two primaries will pretty much automatically going to have a seat in the House of Representatives. Let's look at State House District 38. This was one that I was very interested in. Representative Cheryl Acton ran a lot of the anti-abortion bills up on the Capitol. Very big, very right-wing, very conservative figure. Surprised a lot of people when she decided she was not going to run again again. In this race, Gloria Vindis is sort of her hand-picked successor. Vindis didn't raise a lot of money. She won at the convention. Chris McConaughey, he gathered signatures, and McConaughey out to a big lead in the first wave of results right now. In House District 40, Andrew Stoddard, the incumbent, being challenged by Wendy Davis. Stoddard just over 54%, Davis at 45%. And in House District 41, this is the Republican primary. The winner will take on John Arthur in November. Darren Croft leading Aaron Russo 62-37. And this is another big one right here. House District 44, Jordan Tusher, the incumbent, Scott Stevenson, a highway patrol officer, head of the Fraternal Order of Police. Very, very tight election. And this one is within, I mean, that's less than 300 votes right there. Just 200 and some odd votes separate Tusher and Stevenson in this race. So that one is very, very close. Last one we're going to look at right now, State House District 48, Nick Anderson and Jake Hunsinger. This is to fill the seat being vacated by Doug Fiafia, who's running for Senate against Dan McKay, and Hunsinger leads Nick Anderson, about less than 400 votes, almost 400 votes margin there. So that's where things stand right now, waiting for a few other election results to pop in. Let's see if we're getting anything from Davis County right now. Not seeing anything from Davis County, and everything else is still standing where it is. So some interesting results as they have first popped in this evening. And what is your first blush? I am surprised. I'm surprised at how well Ben McAdams is doing. I did not think that anybody in that four-way race would get a majority, and right now McAdams is leading with just over 60% of the vote. And it's a big margin. He's got 21,000 votes right now, and Nate Bluen is at about 8,500. So this is a really big margin. We have some Davis County results. Let's go to those right now and screen share. And this is the one everybody has been looking at all evening. Senate District 7. And we may have a shocker brewing, folks. In Senate District 7, Stephanie Hollis, the Republican, is leading Senate President Stuart Adams right now, 43-34%. Braden Hess at 21. This would be an absolute shocker if Hollis pulls off the upset and defeats Stuart Adams. We have not had a Senate president lose their reelection bid since 2002. The last one to do that, the last time it happened, was when Patrice Arent knocked off Steve Polton in the general election. Patrice Arent was redistricted out of her seat in the House, and instead of retiring or running against another Democrat, she decided to go against Steve Polton, who was the sitting president of the Senate, and she knocked him off. Right now, with almost 14,000 votes in, Stephanie Hollis is leading Stuart Adams by 1,200 votes. It's not a huge margin, but that right there has got my attention. That is a big shocker possibly happening right there. So we've got Stephanie Hollis ahead of Stuart Adams. And in House District 16, Bob Stevenson off to a big lead over Trevor Lee. He's ahead of Lee by almost 1,500 votes right now. He has got almost 67% of the vote, and Trevor Lee with 33%. So some upsets brewing right there in Davis County. A lot of people expected Trevor Lee to be in trouble this evening, and it looks like that may be playing out. Trevor Lee was in a primary 2 years ago, and he ended up winning that by just 524 votes. So, Bob Stevenson raised a lot of money, had a lot of support, former mayor of Kaysville, he's on the Davis County Commission, taught in there, a very formidable opponent. And if these results hold, it looks like Trevor Lee's time in the legislature may be coming to an end. So some big upsets possibly brewing there. What do you think about that? What do you think with we've got Stuart Adams losing right now to Stephanie Hollis, and Adams clear panic mode. Yet last night, we started talking about this earlier on the live stream, but the state party sent out a text message attacking Stephanie Hollis, claiming she was aligned with George Soros. I've never seen the state party put their thumb on the scale like that before. And that right there tells me that Adams was absolutely panicking. And this would be a seismic result if Adams lost. He is one of, if not the most powerful politician in the state. He's the head of MIDA, and if he does lose, it is going to be that data center issue, the MIDA data center. That is going to be at least one of the things that is going to take him down. Also, the business with his granddaughter is probably another one. We've got some really big upsets brewing right now, and it is. My flabbers are a little bit gasted right now. Right now we've got 3 incumbents on the ropes, and it's very possible that we could see more as the evening goes along. Trying to see what's happening in Utah County as well. Let me pull that up. See if we have anything from Utah County at this point. Going to the county page, Utah County. We do have some results in from Utah County. What I am mostly interested in is the Utah County clerk race. And here we go. Aaron Davidson, election denier, conspiracy theorist, someone who it was really concerning that he got elected to this spot. He's in trouble. He's losing to Corey Astle. Looks like about 5,000 votes or so. Dave Astle has almost 56% of the vote to Davidson's 44%. And so that right there, we've got another upset brewing. Let's see if we can see anything that's happening in Senate District 21. Brady Brammer ahead of Kelly Smith. This was another one that was really hotly contested primary. Brammer ahead by what looks like just 900-ish votes. Just under 1,000 votes, somewhere around in the neighborhood of 900 votes. I'm not great at doing math in my head, but seeing those results there. So anyway, what do you think? What are your thoughts about these results that we're seeing? I'm just waiting for these results to come in. I haven't had a chance to really look at the chat, so let's take a look and see what's happening in the chat right now. Great Life Lover on Instagram says, how are you finding these results? Electionresults.utah.gov isn't updating. That's where I'm seeing most of these results. I am getting some from Davis County on the Davis County website. A lot of people in the chat celebrating Trevor Lee falling behind in his reelection bid. A lot of people celebrating Stuart Adams losing. Right, and if this holds, Adams would be out. Someone in the chat asks, does he stay as the chair of MIDA? Yes, he would still be the chair of MIDA. That was in a position he was appointed to by the governor. I don't know if the governor cleans house if Stuart Adams loses, because it's really hard to put into words just how big of a shock this would be if Stuart Adams were to lose. He is arguably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful member of the legislature, the most powerful Republican in the state, and he is on the ropes right now. Let's see. Nathan Detroit says, how reliable is the precinct's reporting number? Utah County is showing all zeros despite vote count listed. I'm not quite sure what the calculation is on that. I'm sure that they'll get the data in, but I mean, consider the sort. Utah County had all sorts of trouble with their election last time around. This would be this is a shocking result. Stuart Adams. I did not think that this. I thought it was possible. I did not think it was probable. If that makes any sense, I was not expecting to see these numbers with Stuart Adams falling behind in this election, trailing as it stands right now. We do now have an overall update because the Senate District 18 race with Dan McKay and Doug Fiafia, that's a multi-county race. So now we're adding parts of Utah County into it. And as you can see right here, Fiafia's lead is increasing. He is almost at 70%. That is a whooping, folks. That is a whooping right there. Doug Fiafia is defeating Dan McKay by almost 40 points. All right, we're going to try this again with another guest. I'm bringing on someone who I really like. Her name is Stephanie Mensimer, and she is the senior reporter for Mother Jones. Let me see if I can bring her in here on the collab cam. Let me start that here. That should be working. And now let me see over here. Hopefully we've got you. A guest has joined. I don't see her in my... Let's see if she has... Sorry, doing some online producing right now. Waiting for to hear from Stephanie Mensimer, who is with Mother Jones Magazine, waiting to bring her in. And let me see, we should be seeing that right there. And that should work. And no. Okay, let's see. Oh, she hasn't logged in yet, so hold on. Okay. Okay, sorry, just communicating with her. She's getting ready to come on. Stephanie Mensimer wrote a great article, was published yesterday in Mother Jones Magazine about the race in Congressional District 3. It is entitled, "In This Utah Primary, Trump Endorsed One Candidate, Pardon the Other." She's got a lot of roots here in Utah, spends a lot of time in Utah, and I really think that she is a great reporter, and I'm very excited, hopefully, that we can get her on the show. We're expecting her to pop in here in just a minute, and when she does, we will bring her on the program. With this article, I gave her some color on that. Now we're seeing a guest has joined, so let me see if we can get Stephanie on and bringing her on into the show. Stephanie, can you hear me?
I can.
Stephanie Mensimer, it's working this time. It didn't work when I had David Neer on earlier, but hopefully it's working now. Stephanie Mensimer, she is a senior reporter for Mother Jones Magazine. I love her work. She does a great job. She spends a lot of time here in Utah, very familiar with a lot of the issues here in Utah. Wrote a great article on Monday, or was published on Monday, about the race in CD3 between Phil Lyman and Celeste Malloy. We've got our first wave of results in, and Malloy is off to a big lead. Like, she is ahead by almost 40 points at this point as the first wave of results. So, Stephanie, talk a little bit about your thoughts on this race between Malloy and Lyman, what you discovered in your reporting, and maybe give me your thoughts on that first wave of results.
Sure. Well, I wondered if this race might be a little bit close, just because.
Same here.
We talked about this before, that Phil Lyman did pretty well in a lot of the counties in this district when he ran against Spencer Cox for governor in 2024. And I think that it was, this is quoting your numbers, but something like 60% of the voters in this race have never seen Celeste Malloy on a ballot before. So I think it was probably one of the more competitive races going on in the country right now. And, new district, new voters, an incumbent, but one who hasn't been there for very long. I think it could have been, it could have gone either way.
It's interesting because we haven't seen we haven't seen San Juan County come in yet. We haven't seen Summit County, but there's not a lot of votes in those counties. Um, uh, uh, for him to pick up. It looks for me, the big thing is going to be down in Utah County, and it's going to be in Washington County. Those are the two most populous counties in the district, and Celeste Malloy is doing very well in Utah County, and she's also doing better than I expected in Washington County. Like she's almost at a two to one margin on him. Talk a little bit. I really like the framing of your article that in this race Trump has endorsed one. He endorsed Celeste Malloy and he pardoned Phil Lyman. And in my experience, Lyman has tried to imply that pardon means that he was endorsed by Trump. He got very mad at me via text over the weekend because I had said something about, I had misspoken and said he was endorsed by Trump, and then I corrected myself. But, they both tried to cozy up to Trump in their own way. But it just doesn't seem to be that big of a factor in this race. Am I reading that right?
I think that's right. And I mean, part of it is Trump really isn't that popular right now, even in MAGA circles. And while I think his endorsement has been a big deal in some other races, I'm not sure that in Utah that it translates quite the same. And I think that the thing that Lyman was pardoned for, he rode an ATV at Recapture Canyon and in protest of the BLM closing the canyon, and he organized a whole protest about the closing of the canyon and picked this big fight with the federal government. And I think that sort of sagebrush rebellion sort of activity appeals to quite a few people in those rural areas and more southern parts of the state. And I think he tried to capitalize on that quite a bit. But I think since then, he's gone a little out in the weeds, we could say, with his election integrity activities and things like that. And Malloy isn't actually that different from him, I think, politically on how she feels about public lands and like that the state should have control over all the federal lands and its boundaries. And so I think that the Trump nomination probably did, or the endorsement probably did help her. It kind of looks like it from the return so far, but I guess we still have a little ways to go.
I was really fascinated by one part of your article where you spoke to Blake Spalding of Hell's Backbone Bar and Grill, or Grill and Farm in Boulder, and the quote was, "It's not like I love Phil Lyman, and he has definitely never eaten in my restaurant, but it's better not to vote for Trump-endorsed candidate and Trump-endorsed Celeste." When you and I spoke for this article, you seemed really surprised by that attitude, and I have to admit I was as well. I do not expect someone like Blake Spalding to say that they would vote for Phil Lyman over Celeste Malloy. That really shocked me.
Yeah, I was surprised too, because they seem pretty much at odds with each other. I mean, people don't know her. She's been a big activist to help save the Grand Staircase Escalante Monument and Bears Ears, and preserve the boundaries of those monuments and keep them off limits to mining and all sorts of things, which Phil Lyman would like to open up to more extractive activities, and so would Celeste Malloy. But I think that Blake has been down there for almost 30 years inside the monument, and she has met Celeste Malloy. And I didn't, get to put this in my story, but she really didn't have a very positive impression with her after meeting with her in DC. And she felt like she was kind of dismissive, and she was dismissive of the idea that like tourism could actually be a growth industry. And I think she accused them of being outsiders, which didn't settle well, because especially with how fast the state has been growing, there are a lot of people who live in Utah now who haven't got 5 generations of pioneer settlers in their family tree. So I think that was probably also part of it. But she really didn't like the Trump endorsement.
Last thing I want to ask you about, and you and I spoke about this on the phone as well, just about the Bundy thread that was running through this race. It hasn't been a big thing, as we know. Celeste Malloy is Cliven Bundy's niece by marriage, you know, the Bundy family in that standoff with the federal government, and Phil Lyman also has some connections to Bundy. Are you surprised that that doesn't seem to be as big of an issue in this race as one might expect?
I did think that it might be more of an issue. I think maybe it's just fading from people's memory. You know, the Bundy Ranch standoff was in 2014, and Ammon Bundy took over the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in 2016. Phil Lyman's protest was in 2014. So it's been a while that the Bundys have really been on the, you know, the big stage. Ammon's been kicking around, of course, but I don't think that people remember it the way they used to. But funny little story. I asked Ammon Bundy, Cliven's son, about this race. And because he endorsed somebody else besides Celeste. I can't remember who he was backing in one of her previous elections. And so I asked him, you know, are you friends with Phil Lyman? You know, you seem to have some ties to him, and is this going to be a tough call? Like, would you have a hard time deciding? And he texted me back and he said, no, it won't be a tough call. But he didn't tell me who he was going to support or who he would support in the race. So it made me wonder whether Phil Lyman may have burned some bridges. You know, as you know, you told me, I think if Phil Lyman wins this race, it's because people know him, because he's been around. He's been in the state legislature. He was a San Juan County commissioner. He's, you know, been an activist and all of that. But I was thinking maybe if he loses this race, it's also because people know him, and he's alienated a fair number of people in the Republican Party over the last few years. And I don't know, but maybe he's even alienated the Bundys. So that could be part of the story about who wins this race tonight.
I remember that in 2024, when I was the first person to report that Celeste Malloy was related to Ammon Bundy, and I reached out to him and asked him if he was endorsing someone in the race, and I think it was actually the Libertarian candidate that he had endorsed in 2024. Stephanie Mensimer, she is a senior reporter with Mother Jones Magazine. Go read her stuff. She writes great stuff about Utah. She had a great article a couple months ago about layoffs up at the IRS offices in Ogden, and I thought that was a really great piece of reporting. She does really good work for them. Follow her at Mother Jones. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That is Stephanie Mensimer.